Alright, okay, so welcome back to part 2. So we're going to go until about 5 to 6, and then I think Simon and Martin, you guys are okay to take some photographs?
Yeah,
Is that okay? Yeah, okay, fantastic. And so everybody got a raffle ticket, right? Has everybody got a raffle ticket?
I didn't get a raffle ticket.
You didn't? Well, there's two prizes for the raffle. There's a runner-up prize, okay, which was donated by the book club, okay.
Let the right one in?
Yeah. Endorsed by Martina, you heard it right here. This was donated. The first prize was donated by Anglo Info, and I'll give you their contact details when we do the prize draw. You guys will do the prize draw.
Oh, really?
And it's a Swarovski. Am I saying that correct? A Swarovski necklace. So we'll do that at the end. So you guys ready?
Yeah.
You okay? Yeah. All right. Okay. So who wants to ask the first question? Who wants to ask the next question?
By the way, I pressed play, is that right?
Yeah, sure.
Is this working?
Yes.
Do you guys have anything specific that you miss about North America?
There are a bunch of things that I miss. The thing that kind of makes me the saddest when I think about it is that sense of being with my family in a backyard, you know, with like lots of grass around and lots of quiet. You know, like I miss that sense of spaciness of, like, you know, the parts of Canada that we're from. Well,
Big
here,
grassy fields.
yes.
Smell the like cut grass or
Yeah.
like the wet grass, and you're just like, ah.
Korea has like such a high population density and everything is so condensed around here. It's very convenient. While in Canada you have to drive everywhere. Like I kind of miss that openness and that, you know, more closeness with nature. You know,
I missed something that I didn't think I would actually miss. Well, I didn't acknowledge that I would miss it. Is chatting with strangers. So, I mean, I know I can still talk to strangers a bit in Korean, like that's okay, but that's not something that's very part of Korean society. So like if you're waiting in line at a grocery store, at least even in Toronto, you might be like, this lineup sucks, I picked the wrong one, and everyone in line's like, oh, I know. Or like, you know, you kind of have that kind of conversation, or the bus is late, and you like chat with people, but when I tried to do that in Korea, I found that it didn't translate properly.
Yeah.
And I don't know if I made people uncomfortable because I'm a foreigner, or if it's surprising that I was speaking Korean, or if it's the hair, they're like, that girl's unnatural. I just, there are some like small chat, little chit chat places like coffee shops I get to know. So I love that, like finding a local coffee shop in Korea where the person working there, you see them every day. And so I start small chat with them and we exchange music and we like, you know, that kind of thing I like. But I just miss that like waiting in line or talking to the barista who's making your coffee.
Like I know whenever we go to Home Plus here in Korea, we don't have a Home Plus card. I hate like collecting cards, like stamp cards and everything.
We tried to when we just like, we had millions of them.
Wallet is expensive. So whenever we go to Home Plus and whenever we buy groceries and they ask us for a point card, I'll ask the person next in line, like, do you have a point card?
Yeah.
So that I try to give them the points instead, and then they look at me like, what's wrong with you? Why are you talking to me? And I'm like, you know, do you have a point card? And then the cashier will say, I understand what's happening. You know, they want to give you the points, and they're like, they give the card and just like look at me all like smiling, and it's like, and then they take the points, but it's like, you know, I think in North America that translated more easily for me.
Definitely,
You know?
yeah. But I think the, you know, the payoff, there's like this balance, you know.
Right.
On one side you have that chatty nature that you miss in North America, but on the other side in Korea you have some super awesome polite service and efficient service, even with no tips. You have the ajumas that you bing bong, they're like, eh. They come over, you're like, oh, kimchi dojuseyo, they're like, eh, and they'll bring you that kimchi. You know, while in North America, I'm like doing the like eye flare, like,
Hey,
you know, and they come over and they're like, oh. And you're like, can I get some ketchup? And they're like, oh. So when I go back home again, I feel this like stress of people not doing their jobs just for the sake of doing their jobs. Like I was a firm believer growing up. You know, I worked at Starbucks, I worked in a pottery studio, I worked in a bread factory. Like I did tons of different jobs, and you just did your job to the max. It didn't matter.
Do your job, do it right. You've got the uniform matching the building, do what you're supposed to do.
Like, it didn't mean that you thought that that was your future job. Like, I didn't think I would necessarily stay at Starbucks forever, which I would have been okay with because I love coffee. But I still did my job right. And I feel like in Korea, people do their jobs, and they do them. And in North America, sometimes I go back.
They do their jobs and they do them.
But sometimes in North America, they don't do their jobs.
Yes.
So, like, I feel that awkward stress that I didn't feel before. I don't know if you guys know what I'm saying, but yes. So. Yeah, And Mexican food, I miss.
Avocados!
Cheap avocados.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
How does your professional relationship impact your personal relationship?
That is a wonderful question.
With our friends or with each other? With each other.
It's very bizarre because I know that a lot of people ask that same question. Like, you're married, you shouldn't work together. Like, you know, money and blood don't ever mix. But for us, it's like our full-time job isn't bloggers. Our full-time job is, you know, like making a YouTube channel. Our full-time job is being married to each other. And everything else that we do has to supplement that. So we realize that, you know, if sometimes our job gets in the way of us, you know, enjoying time with each other, then we're like, you know, screw it, let's, you know, not work on our job right now. Because there are a lot of other videos that we want to do. We're just like, but no, let's spend more time with each other doing that instead. So
we found that before we actually hired like Susie to help us and had an interview coming in, we just worked like 24/7.
Yeah.
We rolled out of bed, picked up our laptops, checked comments, answered emails, Twitter, like Facebook. It was just like nonstop. Like you make breakfast on one hand and like comment on the other.
Yeah.
So we found that it was having like a negative impact in which we couldn't spend any time together anymore. So then we decided to start shuffling our segments around and like that we needed to get help to help us out as well so that we can, you know, make videos but still actually exist as a married couple.
I think the clear distinction that we make is that as soon as we're in, you know, the work environment, then we don't look at each other as like a husband and wife doing this. Like it's more like, you know, creative, you know, director
or like
and
producer
executive director.
or
So
something
it's
like that.
We're fortunate that like we have different roles that we fulfill. So Martina has like more of the creative, like flary side to the videos, while I have more of the structural side to editing everything. So after we film everything, then I'll chop it up, I'll rearrange it so that it sounds like clean and coherent, and I get rid of all my stuttering and stammering, which is why I hate doing live events, because I ramble so much and I just want to cut out like 80% of the shit and just like have something efficient.
I'm like trying to do the...
So, you know, after I finish that, then Martina can add the third to that. So the only time that it ever gets in the way is like sometimes we'll really butt heads on an idea for a video, and we'll be like, okay, your idea sucks. I'm not saying this, you know, as, you know, my wife, because you're a lovely wife and I love you, but I don't, you know,
I love you and you're great, but your idea sucks.
Yeah. So
we try not to take it, like we try to acknowledge that it's not personal, it's an idea. So I'll say to Simon, like, this idea of yours, I think, will not be successful because I think that this will take too much filming and blah, blah, blah. And it's not you personally as Simon, my husband, it's you as like a partner in a company, and I don't agree with it. So that's the approach we try to take. And if it ever gets to the point where you're too heated about something, then we've got to be like, okay, wait a second, like, why is this becoming personal suddenly? So you really have to just acknowledge that there's a divide between your opinions on the video and between yourself as a person.
And I think that's one of the main reasons why we also want to putting a lot of effort into getting the studio and to getting staff as well, because like the apartment that we had before we got the studio was just overrun by all of our film and computer equipment. Like we were tripping over wires, like we had like our cameras with us on the table at breakfast, and we found that we couldn't make that clear divide between like, you know, work and family as much. And you know, it's also weird because it's like, it's not like we have a high stress job in which we have to worry about making a quota or else we get fired. We can't fire ourselves, you know.
Or can we? Martina, you can slack it.
It's just more like we feel the pressure of trying to satisfy our audience, and that's really like the only pressure that we have, is trying to keep like our audience happy and interested in.
But you touched on a topic I wanted to say before. One thing that is actually very difficult though, and this has to do with I think the new production instead, is okay, let's say we're reviewing a K-pop song or we're trying a food that we disagree on. The problem is we have to make the decision of, are we going to have a unified comment? Like, are we going to say, we didn't like this song? Or is Simon going to say, I didn't like this song? And then I say, well, this song didn't bother me. The problem is no one ever remembers what I say after that. The minute that Simon says he doesn't like something, the comment section is flooded with people being like, how can you hate this song? Meanwhile, right after that I was like, I thought this song was amazing, but it completely blanks out by the fact that Simon said something negative to start. So it kind of sucks that way, because it's like we're two different people with separate opinions, but then people will remember the negative something.
It's a lot easier to remember the negatives than the positives.
So then sometimes it's frustrating because we're not going to lie about it. Like if Simon hated a song, he's not going to say he liked it, and vice versa. But then do we say that we didn't like the song?
So then the problem that we have when we're trying to make this video is, whose point do we emphasize more? Whose perspective do we give more of the spotlight on the video? Like what part of the video does that go in? Because like attention spans drop off at different parts of the video. So where do you put the meatier parts in? So
we decided a new segment now where in our music reviews we have, it's called like the 30-second showdown. And so I've been tossing around this idea for a while of I really want us to like just seriously argue in front of camera. And so now we include this tiny segment, just 30 seconds, where the two of us will like argue on a song if we actually don't agree on it. So.
And also, for me, because I'm such a sappy schmuck, this is a dream job for me because, like I said, I'm more interested in being a husband than being a blogger. And I remember when we were teachers, the idea of I have to teach in this school for 8 hours and you have to teach in this school for 8 hours and we have to be separate for 8 hours a day every day sucks. Like, I don't want to be separate from you. Like, we are like really snugly. Like, I'm sorry. All right. Like, we're always
swearing. He said, "Luck."
We're joined at the hip all the time. Like, we're very like.
We're very awkwardly mushy. That's all I have to say.
So like,
shopping's the worst.
So yes, sometimes like our different opinions might get in the way when we're trying to make a video, but like we're just happy that we can be together.
Yeah, working together all day
and
awesome.
just playing around the camera.
We tone it down on camera.
Okay, who's next?
Follow that awkward.
Okay, I'm going to take it way back to when you guys taught in schools.
Yes.
Right now, I teach at 2 elementary schools, and at one, I'm by myself, and sometimes the kids get wild. So, did you have that problem, and how did you take control of your class?
What's the age level of your kids? I taught in high school, and Simon taught in
Elementary,
school.
so
Okay.
until like 6th grade.
Oh, okay.
Oh well, we've been out of the teaching sphere for like I've been out of it for almost 4 years now. My kid's been out of it for 3. So
We
maybe
see
like
presentations at
yes.
Epic actually on this kind of thing.
So maybe like teaching techniques have changed, but I found that we had a strategy when it came to teaching, in which we invested so much time in trying to make the most interesting and engaging lessons, most fun lessons possible, so that after, say, like a month of class, after doing these lessons, students know when they come to class, like, holy shit, this is going to be great. So if any student wound up like acting up in class, then or like being disruptive, then I would stop teaching lesson. I would just wait for them to stop. And the other students who are like, this is my one time that I can enjoy school and not be like drilled by teachers, and this asshole student is disrupting it, then I let the students take control of it themselves. Like, they would self-regulate. They'd be like, you shut up, I'm trying to like enjoy this right now. So it's not like a very easy like 5-minute solution. It's something that was ingrained in our entire teaching philosophy. Like, make the best lessons possible so that students are really interested and engaged, so that if somebody is having a bad day, or like something happened at home, or they didn't eat for that day or whatnot, or they broke up with their girlfriend or boyfriend and they're not acting well in class, then other students will self-regulate. And that kind of makes them as like better humans in the future. They don't have to have a boss telling them what to do. They can control themselves. So I think that's more effective as a teacher.
I have some different techniques.
There you go.
Okay, well, I also did that as well. Like, we spent hours on like PowerPoint and keynote presentations that involved like K-pop idols.
We had things dancing, moving on screen,
like,
all the cutouts and shading and everything.
So we tried that, but
Yeah.
for me also, I thought the biggest push or change was I really demanded that my school gives me a tiny percentage of the grade. A tiny percentage of the grade. So by the end of my 3 years of teaching, I was up to 30% of their grade, their final grade. Like, I really tested and drilled my students. Like, I came in there with my North American teacher attitude, but so for me, when the students came in, they all on their walls had numbers, because they all have student numbers, and everyone would take their number card, just like the number 1 to 34, and then they had points based on like if they were late, if they came on time, if they're talking in class, that kind of thing. And then the points added up at the end of the day or at the end of the week. And I had like a big box as well, of like a goodie box for like someone who was really high achiever at the end of the week, or even someone who doesn't highly achieve but made an effort that day. I would always acknowledge it, like, you were really great in class today. Like, even if their grades aren't great, but they really paid attention. And I included in the box not just like candy, but a lot of like stationery supplies as well, because some of the students didn't have really great backgrounds, like they might have been poor or they couldn't afford a lot of stuff. And there's like all these secret competitions that we don't know about between our students. I didn't even know that uniforms are so expensive in Korea, like hundreds of dollars expensive, and that uniform coats mean that you can afford the $500 coat, but the uniform vest means that you couldn't afford the coat. So like within my school, you could look in the classroom and they could tell what background they were from. It was crazy. I'm like, what? Like when my teachers told me that, they're like, oh yeah, so they think she's poor and they pick on her. I'm like, what? Like, yeah. So I found that the point system helped out a lot. It took me a while to get the students involved in it, and it was really easy to tell when someone was late because you just look at the wall and there's like their number card sitting there. And then another technique was, this is hilarious, but I learned it from an old boys school where it was a really tough school, the bear of shame. And it was a stuffed toy bear, and if they did something wrong, obviously you laid out the rules ahead of time, but like if they're late or if they swore in class or if they talked too much, they got the bear. And they held the bear, or they kept the bear on the desk. If they threw the bear or whatever, then it was an automatic, I'll tell you the automatic problem at the end. So they kept this bear. Now let's say I'm behaving really well, and then you start swearing. Then the bear goes to them. And the bear passes around until the end of class, the bell rings. And whoever is stuck with this bear, there's this dice that they have to roll. And the punishment dice. And the punishment dice had simple punishments, like one was, next class you have to sing a song of like a K-pop, like a 20-second like K-pop breakdown song. Right? And then another one was they have to bring candy for the class, which was only once on the dice, and it never landed on it, and everyone was always like, candy, candy. So they had done these kind of little punishments, and the boys, they were high school boys, and they really loved it. Like, no one wanted this punishment bear, so they didn't want to like misbehave, and they self-regulated. So like if someone was talking or swearing, they'd be like, oh, Minho is swearing! And they're like, oh. It blew my mind, because this was a really tough tech school, and the kids were like, just really into this bear. So I know it sounds dumb, but it really, really helped out for that class to be under control. Yeah, it was amazing. Punishment bear.
Teaching, I remember doing that.
I do miss teaching. I mean, we spent so much student debt to become teachers.
It's great because, you know, we went to 6 years of university and our degrees are useless, so here you go.
Super duper.
Have you had family to come visit you here in Korea?
My mom and dad came once, and then my sister and her husband came once as well, and then your dad came once?
My dad came once. My mom will never come. My mom is like so cloistered and like she has to eat the same food every single day. She doesn't want any like oh no, it's too scary. I can't like. One time when we were in Canada, we went to a buffet, and I'm like, you should try this wonton soup. She's like, what is that? I don't know, I'm scared. I'm like, you're not gonna die from eating fucking food, just eat it. She's like, well, what's a wonton? I'm like, it's, you know, my parents are Polish. I'm like, it's like a pierogi. Like, you like pierogies, don't you? Like,
and she like went towards it. Like yes.
No, I'm too scared. So my mom is just, she's way too scared to come here. But my dad loved it when he came here. There's actually a really funny story I had when my dad came here.
Jen.
With Jen.
Yeah.
We had a friend, like my parents are fairly old. They're almost 70 years old now. They grew up in Poland where there wasn't a lot of racial diversity, and then they came to Korea when they came to Canada when they were almost 40. And they lived in a small Polish community, and now they have like more of a multicultural area that they're in. But it took them a while to be exposed to that. And so when my dad came to Korea, and we met our friend Jen, who was born and raised in California, but she's of Vietnamese descent, and she walked by, and my dad, I introduced her to my dad, like, this is my dad, he's here, he's going to be here for 3 weeks, and she talked for a bit, she's like, oh, are we going to do this thing on the weekend? And they're like, yeah, we'll do it later, all right, have a nice day, goodbye. And then we were walking away, my dad says, that one speaks English very good.
And she's still clearly in earshot.
And I'm like, whoa.
Like, first off, that one. No.
She's not Korean.
American.
So, I love my dad.
Or when your dad spoke at the Polish embassy to the Korean girl who spoke Polish.
Yeah.
In Polish about how she speaks English
trying to
well,
get
but she speaks Polish as well.
Yeah, I'm trying to get my Polish citizenship because like both my parents are from Poland, so if I get citizenship, I get a passport, and then I'm into. So that's awesome. I want to get that done. So when we went there, the girl working there is Korean, but she speaks Polish better than I do. And my dad the whole time was like giving me play-by, like, look how she pronounced that word. I'm like, what the hell? She says it better than I can.
That's amazing.
My dad. Yes.
What do you see as the future of Korean K-pop and kimchi? So do you think it's going to continue to be a success, or it's just the end of it is a spree?
Okay, we have like a very strong position on this.
Okay.
I really feel like K-pop has always been successful. I mean, like, when it started getting successful back in like, I think 2008, 2009 was like the big kind of like, when all the big stuff started coming out. The Korean government didn't actually notice that it was successful, but it was spreading like wildfire amongst people, and it was on the internet through YouTube, and people were becoming like fans of it. But then the Korean government stepped in and was like, wow, Hallyu is really becoming big and stuff like that. But I don't believe that the Korean government's hand is like adding or subtracting from it. I think that even to the point where they think that the Hallyu wave isn't important anymore, and they think that like, oh, well, it's not doing anything, we should focus on something else. K-pop is still going to be big because we feel like it's created its own like sub-genre of people that follow it. So I think that the high school analogy for us is the best one.
Like I don't know what your high school or elementary school were like, but I remember when we were growing up, the music that you listened to defined the group of friends that you were a part of. So like the hip hop crew hung out with hip hop people, and they dress hip hop, and the people that listen to rock hung out with other people that listen to rock, and they dress rock. And if you didn't want to be part of like listening to popular music, you would listen to your own kind of like underground music, like heavy metal, for example, which isn't very easily accessible to a lot of people. Like I still can't get into heavy metal. I'm not a fan of scream. While Martina loves it. I find, or like we both find, that K-pop is a way for teenagers to not listen to mainstream music of their country that they might be bored with, but still have something that's highly accessible and digestible. Like these are still, really good-looking people. They are still singing very catchy songs. They still have very flashy outfits and flashy videos and really cool dances. And one of the appeals of K-pop is that if you listen to like North American pop song lyrics, a lot of it is just goddamn garbage. And what's great about K-pop is that if you don't speak Korean, you don't understand that so you can just like let it wash over you. So like
you translate to yours, yeah.
Yes.
Like,
oh my god. Yeah. So like a lot of people are finding K-pop as very successful as like a subculture, but this whole idea of will K-pop ever be mainstream? Will it ever be like Lady Gaga and Justin Bieber?
On the radio.
On the radio in North America, because that seems to be the holy grail that K-pop companies are going for. I find that like a ridiculous goal to try to achieve, because it's like, well, like look at Lady Gaga and Justin Bieber. They're massive where they're from. Why are they not on mainstream radio here in Korea all the time?
You might hear it like once in a while outside of like a store, but you generally hear K-pop.
But barely ever. And the idea is not that Justin Bieber and Lady Gaga suck. It's just that mainstream music is more a reflection of a culture's mentality, what's accessible to a culture, rather than what's good. So I don't think that a lot of people in North America can listen to K-pop on a mainstream level, because a lot of people can't relate to girls' generation, 9 girls all dancing together wearing the same uniform. So like it's very difficult for people to get into that. But will it still be successful? I still think that YouTube is propelling like mass amounts of views for these videos. And what I like about K-pop is my marketing terminology is rather weak, but I think it's something called beating the long tail, in which you don't have to be massively mainstream in order to be very successful. It's much better to have 1,000 really dedicated hardcore fans than 10,000 casual ones. Because it's your hardcore dedicated fans that are the ones that are buying the tickets to the concerts when you come out. They are buying all of your stuff online. They are the ones that are spending money in your company. So I still believe that K-pop will get a lot of long tail fans in there that are very dedicated, that are very passionate, and sometimes very apeshit crazy. And they will be spending a lot of money on K-pop. So I do think that it will continue to be successful. Will it ever be mainstream? I highly doubt it in North America.
But I don't think that means that it's not successful.
Yes.
I think that
that's not a measure of success for us.
They are already successful. They've already got fan groups all over the world that listen to music that's not even part of their country. I mean, what other country can really say that?
Yeah.
Even like Japan, which is so super popular, J-pop is not catching on, and it's very hard to get into. I've listened to a lot of J-pop, and it really has like this peppy, like kind of feel. And some J-pop is awesome, and J-rock is okay. Like there's really great stuff, but it's really hard to get other people into it too, right? So I feel like K-pop is so successful, but the idea of like getting this #1 position may not be reached, but who cares? Like,
I think it's a good point, because it cannot replace that mainstream American music.
Definitely.
Still, I think it is the K-pop. We think it should be still remain and survive as one genre of music, right?
Yeah.
Just like jazz and some different kind of music.
Well, I think that's difficult to say because I don't really define K-pop as a genre. Because when I think of genres of music, genres have distinct sounds. Like rock music has like guitars or drums. Like hip hop music has like specific like things that go with hip hop music. But K-pop doesn't have its own distinct sound. K-pop is a reappropriation of a whole bunch of different genres, and they make it into their own song. So K-pop itself is more of an aesthetic, of like a video and an appearance, rather than a sound of music itself. So can it succeed as like a sound? I don't know, because I don't know what the K-pop sound is.
I think the K-pop sound is always going to change. So it's always going to try new music out. I mean, now they're in a dubstep craze. So like now that dubstep came out, well, dubstep's always been out, but anyways, now that Skrillex took off, now it seems like dubstep is a part of like almost every K-pop song. There's like this random like dubstep breakdown, wow, wow, K-pop. I'm like, okay. So then when the next trend comes in, I'm sure K-pop will somehow have that incorporated in its song as well.
And I think that's what makes K-pop more like adaptable. Like while a genre, like if you listen to like a specific genre of music, you could get bored of that sound after a while. While K-pop will keep on changing its sound to fit whatever's popular. So if like maybe in 10 years they're gonna have harpsichords that are big for some reason, and K-pop will be like, shit, let's do that, and then they get on a harpsichord trend, and they will keep on adapting to what's popular.
Harpsichords rock.
Hell yeah!
One last final thing I want to say.
Okay.
I do think soon though there's going to be a K-pop rookie band bubble that's going to burst in
Yes.
the market because there has been such a massive mushrooming of rookie bands that come out.
By the time you finish a sentence, there will be 7 more rookie bands that haven't
And
emerged.
it's really like, it's getting kind of out of control because I feel like it's just like all these people putting money into these bands. They don't really understand the marketing world behind it. If you look at the big labels like SM, JYP, and like YG, they've really thought hard about how to make these bands. They train them, but it seems like other labels are just like, quickly, put people together, make them look sassy, quickly, throw on some studs, okay, go. And it's like, they just come up and they just fail. And there's too many of them happening. We need to focus on like quality rather than this mass quantity. Yeah, so,
Yes.
yeah. Okay.
That's a very convoluted answer. Sorry.
I have a question just about blogging. So like right now there are so many blogs out there on like WordPress, Tumblr, Blogspot, and especially there's so many blogs from expats living and teaching abroad sharing their experience. So as professional bloggers, like what advice or recommendation would you give to people starting out? Like how to set your blog apart from other people that are kind of doing the same thing?
Okay, we're gonna split on this one because okay, so first of all, I'm going to talk with interaction, and when Simon was teaching for 2 years, the 3rd year he quit teaching, I kept teaching. Simon focused on the kind of like behind the scenes of a blog, on what you should do to improve it, the stuff that we didn't even know about, so I'll let Simon talk about that after. So when it comes to actually writing the post, one of the big things I think is interaction is so key with your audience. Even if you have one commenter or one person, like when we first started blogging and getting emails and stuff, we responded to every single email and every single comment that was coming in.
It's impossible for us to do now.
Now there's too many, but we still make an effort to. Like when we put up a video, our friends will be like, okay, just put up the video, let's go out, like hurry up. I'm like, we can't because we want to spend at least an hour after we put up the video to see if people's to see people's reactions.
Thank you people for watching the videos and answering the questions about it.
That's really important because people think TV is totally different. TV's like you film these segments, you put them up, and you don't know what's going to happen.
And TV, like the TV's across the room, you're sitting here. The actors are not even looking at you in the eyes, they're looking off to the side and doing their own thing. And then when the show's done, that's it. It's done. While with like the internet, you're here, the laptop's here, and the people on the laptop are looking in the eyes. So there's a much more social aspect to it. And you have to embrace that when you're using social media. You have to be sociable with it.
Yeah, so that is really, really, really important, interacting with people. And then the other thing is not to spam things. So people think that Facebook, Tumblr, Twitter are what you should do is take your link of what you put up, and then you should take that link and put it on everything across every single possible social media source you should do. The problem is you're not really giving anything new to anyone. They could follow you on Twitter and get the same if they follow you on Facebook. So if you do have a blog that you're blogging on, and then let's say you're using like Pinterest to pin, you're doing something on fashion, you want to pin it, then do something different on Pinterest and different on your blog. It can still have a similar vein, but don't just put the one thing across everything totally unsociable. Twitter, if you love, like we love Game of Thrones, we talk about the Red Wedding. We talk about our other things that we like on, like, let's say Facebook. but then Twitter never hears about it. But then Twitter might get pictures of some food that I'm cooking. So like, it's important to like actually get across who you are as a person using different things. Not just like constant spamming of like this one link over and over again, you know?
The one thing that I find that a lot of people have difficulty with when they're starting off blogs is that people go into it for the wrong reasons. Is that like, we've heard a lot of people be like, I want to be a successful blogger, what do I do? And the idea is, well, what do you mean by successful? Like, you want to be like, you know, rich and famous off of it? Like, you're going into blogging for the wrong reasons if that's why you're doing it. And like, a lot of people will say, well, I don't have like this super awesome equipment so I can't make videos. Well, you look at someone like Jenna Marbles on YouTube, who's got like, I'm pretty sure she farts money like every single day. She's like, she's so loaded off of the amount of views that she gets. And she just records it on her webcam with like garbage lighting, you know? And the idea is that go into blogging because you're passionate about a topic, because you want to convey that topic. Your passion should be your #1 thing, and whatever reward that comes out of it is bonus. Like we did our videos on YouTube for like 2 years for completely free. Like we didn't get a dime out of it, you know?
Well, 3 years.
3 years.
But the 2 years we didn't make any money at all.
Yeah.
The third year is when YouTube said, you know.
Well, at the end of the second year is when YouTube offered us partnership.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, okay, well maybe if, you know, I spend a lot more time with this and, you know, try to like make these videos better and fix things up a bit and fix up the code of the site, then we might, you know, like develop our audience a little bit more. And, you know, the first month we got $5, I'm like, yes! You know?
Oh, my parents made fun of us for that full year.
But like even before, bless you.
That's something I miss about North America.
Yeah.
I sneeze now and I like look around the room like, no, no bless me, I guess I'll die.
But like even if we wouldn't be making any money out of these videos, we'd still be making it because it's something that we're passionate about. So like the one thing that I would highly recommend is find a topic that you're passionate about. Find a niche. Find something that's like different that you want to talk about. So like we've had friends who, you know, really wanted to, you know, were really interested in, say, the queer community of Korea. And we're like, well, like, blog about it. You know, be the go-to source. Be the one that everyone wants to know for that. It's like, we do, like, our shtick is, you know, being foreigners in Korea. That's not like a globally accessible thing, you know, but like we focus on that market, we focus on that niche, which a lot of people didn't do back then, and we just put our all into it. So find something you're passionate about, do it because you love it, not because you want to become immensely successful.
And the other thing is that people seem to think like, it's weird because, you know, when we started blogging, there were other blogs that were the big blogs. Like, you know, like we're friends with those people now, like, you know, like the Your Kimchi and like Seo, like they were like these big blogs and we're like, whoa, these people have so many comments and so many things are happening. But we never thought to ourselves like, we can't do it then. We just did it. But we have a lot of people telling us like, oh, I wanted to do a blog or a video thing, but I can't do it now because you guys did that. And I'm like, you're not me though. So like your opinions are totally different than mine. Your experiences are different than mine. We have friends that live in the countryside in Korea. How cool would it be to have a YouTube segment about the countryside? They walk through a pepper field every day to work. That's awesome. Like I want to know what that looks like.
And we're not even
like
joking
2
about it
hours
because
away. Like,
we just discovered an awesome YouTube channel, the Letterkenny. Ontario.
These 2 little farm boys that live in Ontario.
Farm boys in Letterkenny, Ontario. It's a city that has a population of 5,000, and they do videos about being farm boys, and it's just
and issues of being a farm boy.
Hilarious. It's a wonderful channel, and it's like who is really like they're just doing their own little thing like by their farm really, and they're making awesome videos, and they're gonna get lots of views off of it because you know they're passionate about it and they're doing something that they really like.
Okay, pause.
Yes.
I wanted you to talk about the back side.
Well, there's you emphasize that bit, but like
because like it's not super important. It's not like you do that and then suddenly you're whoa, what happened there? But it's just that Simon did a lot of research online about things like search hits.
Search engine optimization is called SEO, and it's the idea of how do you clean up your site so that it ranks better on Google. So it's like, for example, like when we had our blog at the beginning, the URL for a post would be like eatyourkimchi.com/?98876532777, and it's like nobody could actually search for 988667537. While if you change it up so that like your URL is something like, you know, how to use your washing machine, people search for that kind of stuff. So these are different things that I tried cleaning up, like cleaning up the heading tags and whatnot. So I really looked into how to make the most Google-friendly site as well, because Google is a major source of traffic for majority of sites.
For people stumbling upon your site, and also cleaning up your tags. So people, it's called tag stuffing, where people have like a video about like, how to use your washing machine. But somehow there's Paris Hilton in their like tag. They're like, Paris Hilton, washing machine, Korea, Justin Bieber, One Direction, and they're like, superhero, Big Bang, like everything possible. You get punished for that now. So like, YouTube knocks your
That used to work. It used to suck people, but now YouTube's like, we will demote you.
Yeah, they know that you're doing that. So like, the more you put in that doesn't actually relate, it will actually cripple your being found on the site. So try to make your tags relatable and something that people will actually search for. So there are ways to reword your tags so that it actually is something findable. And if anyone uses Tumblr, you might know that as well, because if you try to search in Tumblr, like you're looking up like Harry Potter, there are all these other random tags that come up, and when you click that tag, there's like no posts on it. Well, that person tagged it with something that's not going to be found. So try to think about that as well. Okay, nerd talk over.
Yes.
So, can I ask you a question?
My question was actually answered. I was going to ask how you spread your content really on Twitter, Tumblr.
It's rather difficult. Like one of the things that we're really trying to get into now is Google Plus. How many people use Google Plus? Oh, we got one and we got two. It's weird because it's like, according to the numbers, it's the second biggest social network in the world. It's bigger than Twitter now. And, because like Google is just like, it has such a strong base. And I for some reason I believe that it will be a lot bigger in the future, and I really want to try to develop that, but it's so hard to spread yourselves over so many. Like, we have different polls on Facebook and we have different pictures on Twitter. What can I put on Google Plus that's different? It's something that we still think about. Like, I really want to get us into Pinterest as well. What can we do for Pinterest that's different, that will be rewarding for people that follow us there?
I mean, like I use a lot of, like makeup brands or things that I find that I really want to take pictures of and show people, because people will say like, oh, where did you do that? How did you use this? And I want to be able to take pictures and stuff, but it's like we're doing so much in one day that I have to remind myself, like, have I neglected my I want to say friends, but have I neglected my friends on Twitter today? Have I shown them any fun pictures? And I'll be like, oh my god, I should do something for them. So I'm always trying to think of what to do, but we only have so much time in the day before we never sleep again.
I know that, for some people that look on the outside, they're like, oh, Simon Martini, like goof around, with YouTube videos. They record something and like 5 minutes later it's uploaded on the internet and they just poop money. It doesn't work that way. Like, we work so long on this job. It's like we wake up and we just like get right to it until we fall asleep. So it's not a job that you have paid vacations. It's not a job that you can really step away from. If you don't post a video, then you don't make money. And so like whenever we go on a trip, like there's so many countries that we want to go to, and like so many people that we want to see. But if we travel, then that's something that's a month that we won't earn any revenue on.
That's why we say you have to be passionate, because if you're not passionate about it, then why would you want to do it? Why would you want to put your time into the day?
So it's very bizarre. Yes.
Do you have some advice for someone who wants to start to make video on YouTube? Like, for example, more about the format. I mean, do you have advice formats that you always use in your video?
Well, the one thing.
Do you share your video with your friends before you publish it on your YouTube channel?
No, we don't really share with our friends before we publish it. We have different techniques that we find more effective. Like when we look back at our older videos, it's like, oh, I can't believe I did that.
And they're there forever.
The one thing that is scary about the internet is that attention spans are so terrible on the internet. Like, whoa, it's like, but it's so weird. Like, if you like pay attention to like TV, like you can sit down for 45 minutes and watch a TV show. Good luck watching 45 minutes of a YouTube video. And so like you really have to, so you really have to try to keep everything as condensed as possible. Make sure that it's, I think the term is televisual. Like, make it so that like you're popping here. Like, even though I know some people make fun of Korean variety shows, like the instant replays, and the slow motion, and like the teardrops that they have and whatnot. They're pretty much, if you look at the filming of a Korean variety show, they're sitting and talking in a room for 45 minutes. How do you make that not visually boring? So you have to add a whole bunch of effects. So
it's super entertaining. What I want to say is, back in a second.
Okay.
The first thing is, are you making videos already? Okay. The biggest problem we found is that people get crippled by the idea of needing to have certain equipment. So once again, talking about Jenna Marbles, we have friends that study film in school. They know way more than we do about film.
Yeah.
We didn't study anything. We just learned along the way. Didn't even know how to edit.
Terms like cocklefer, which is an actual term for somebody who's on a set and they wave plants in front of lights so that it gets
like
shadowing. That's an actual job.
Anyways. But the point is that people are like so crippled to even start because there's all this YouTube video. They're like, well, what if people don't like it? Or I have friends that have gotten to the point where they're like, I wanted to do this video about this, but I'm worried about the haters. I'm like, you've not even posted a single video.
Yes.
Why do you think that posting a video will mean that you'll immediately get haters? You're not going to get haters until you're popular. The second you're popular, it's like they sprout out. They're like, whoa, you're popular. I hate you. Like, it's an actual correlation. It's so bizarre. So don't even think about like format or this or that or like, what if I make a mistake? Just take your phone, your handphone, cell phone, and just start making a video about something that you like. You're eating at Lotteria and you have this hamburger and it's got pickles in it. You're like, what? Like, just make that video.
Get in the habit, like make it a part of your life.
Yeah.
Like don't just eat a burger on its own. Like take pictures of the burger, make a video of the burger, make sure that you make vlogging or blogging a part of your actual
And
routine.
it's the habit because like sometimes you think to yourself, I really don't want to film today. Like I'm tired, I didn't sleep well, you know, like I'm exhausted.
We went to sleep last night at 6 a.m.
Yes. You know, and like when I was still teaching, like I was teaching making music for our videos because we can't use copyrighted music. We just use GarageBand and like a little piano keyboard. Beep, 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 beep. Yeah. So we're making music, we're editing, we're publishing this, and then I have to go to school as a teacher the next day, and I don't want to affect my students negatively. So I'm like super chipper, right? So it's exhausting. So some days I didn't want to film, but I knew like, you know, this is a cool video. I just don't want to film because I'm being tired, but you know what? People are going to like it. So like, just do it. Start putting up videos, crappy videos, tiny videos, whatever, and then you'll start getting into this flow, and then you're going to start saying, what can I do to improve this video? You can look at analytics in YouTube, and YouTube will show you where people stop watching your videos.
Yeah, where it drops off. Yeah.
It'll show you if you talk so much that people stop, change the channel, people love this, more people started watching it, they commented. Every single person's YouTube channel can do that.
And an interesting thing about it is that like, this is really a whole new territory.
I thought you were going to say that.
And like for example, like our intern Lee is in grad school for film in Korea, and you know like she's going to be studying different like dramatic editing for like long dramatic videos and whatnot. And you know I asked if there are any courses on web video. And she says, no, there aren't because nobody knows it yet. It's not big enough yet. This is such a new field that you can define the way things work. Like just because somebody does it this way, you don't have to do that way. You could do your own thing, and like you might be the defining factor of how web videos are made. So there's no definitive source.
And it may have nothing to do with editing. It could just literally be you. You think that you're not interesting, and then suddenly you can put your videos up, and like 400 videos later, people might be like, you are the greatest thing ever. And you'll be like, really, me? It's like, you have no idea if that's you or not. So it's just like people have got to start just doing it. I'm just frustrated because there's so many awesome opportunities I've seen of my friends to do these awesome videos of their experiences, and they just don't do it from like fear of what could happen in the future, which hasn't even happened. They're like, oh.
Yes.
How surreal is this experience for you? You came over here to be teachers, and now you're being invited to Singapore and Japan, and you know, to speak. You're meeting K-pop idols. So how strange is this for you?
This is still something that I like. It's something that I will never take for granted. It's something that I always think that like something is broken in the system. There's no reason why there are people right here listening to me speak right now. This doesn't make any sense whatsoever. So I know that if tomorrow I wake up and the internet were to die, I'd be like, yeah, it figures. You know, so like to me, it's not something that like I'm used to whatsoever. I know that young people are growing up with YouTube. While like for us, YouTube is something that we had to like take on later on in our lives. So it's something.
I think we all probably saw YouTube happen. Like you remember finding a YouTube video or hearing about YouTube, but like my niece, who is now like 1, she's already on YouTube on the iPad. Like, she won't even think of it as like YouTube. It's going to be like there's TV, which is boring and long, and there's YouTube. Like
it's not something that's native to us. So like this whole idea, like. Even the idea of like celebrityism, like some people are like, oh my god, you're a celebrity. I'm like, oh my god, I'm not. Because celebrities, like from what I'm used to growing up, celebrities are usually like immensely talented people, like athletes or singers or people that are immensely wealthy with a giant entourage, while we're two dorks that make videos by ourselves. So we have no right to claim celebrityism, while to people that grew up with the internet and are heavily invested in it, then some people do view us that way, and it's very bizarre for us to think of. It's not something that we grew up with and we could understand properly.
Same with our friends back home.
Yeah.
But like, people waited for you at the airport in Singapore? That's weird. Thanks for this pork jacket, you're my best friend. It's like crazy people, like they're not crazy, they're the best.
And it's like when we were in Singapore, like we were invited to a red carpet event in which there were like a whole bunch of like stushy people in like really expensive dresses and suits, and I'm just like, where's all the free food? What can I eat here?
What can I eat that's delicious and small and fits in my hands?
Yes. So it's totally bizarre. It's something that I don't know what else to say.
I'll tell you what we do like about it is that like at least in Korea we've had the chance to meet like a lot more foreigners that are willing to come up and talk to us about things, because when we first moved to Bucheon there were like no foreigners around.
Yeah.
There were like 2 of them. It was like when you saw a foreigner you're like, foreigner! You like point at each other and you'd be like, oh, and you like run towards each other, and like all the social niceties of North America were tossed out the window. You're like, where are you from? What are you doing? Where are you from? And then like 3 years later, Bucheon like bloomed with all these foreigners, and I would still always wave to people because you never know if they're lonely or not, right? You never really know. So I'd always be like, hey, and people would just blow past me, like not, and I'd be like, hey, scratch my head. So it just felt weird that suddenly there's like this shift of more people. So even now, I'm really happy, like when we're in Seoul and we're walking around and people, I never know if I should smile at foreigners. Is that weird? Like, should I smile at the people that go by just because you're a foreigner, or should I not? Or what if I smile at them and they know me and then they think that I'm just being like, hey, with my kimchi. Now I'm like, I don't know what to do anymore because I just want to be myself, but now there's like this stigma attached.
Well, the one thing that we can't do in public anymore is like pick our noses. Because some people like we have like people like taking pictures of us from a distance. And they're like, oh my god, I saw something. Like I remember seeing one picture. I'm at the airport, like bent over like this, and like there's a giant picture of my ass on the internet. and it's just awkward. No, the one thing that
awkward is that they don't want to come up to us. Because it's like I'm not famous. You can just come up to me and be like, hey, what's up?
Well, the one thing that I am very thankful for is that we do have some friends that are in the K-pop industry. And I would not trade my situation for theirs, even if you offered me 100 times the amount that they're earning. Because when fans walk up to K-pop idols, they're like screaming and they're like, "Oh my God, sign this, sign this, sign this!" Touch your hair, like let me touch your nipples, and it's just like it's like people like go crazy over musicians. While for us, everyone's really chill. They're like, oh hey, I've seen your videos, like thank you so much for helping me out with my laundry, or like, can I buy you a drink? We get free drinks out of this sometimes, and that's great. While like celebrities that we know, they're like, nobody's ever bought me a drink. And everyone just asks them for stuff instead. So I'm really happy that all the people that we meet are ultra freaking cool all the time, and we're so honored. We're in a very fortunate situation.
Can I just make one comment, not a question? I'd like to say, I think maybe we might be in the minority here, but we're part of the military community here.
Okay.
My husband's in the U.S. Army, and whenever
anyone else in the Army here? I'm just curious.
Well, my husband.
There you go.
Okay, okay, great. Okay, so when he got orders to come to Korea, and we decided that we were going to follow them, I was really nervous about telling the kids that we were going to move to Korea. So I like to say that she immediately, logged online and she discovered your videos. Awesome. And you guys made it cool to move to Korea.
Awesome.
As a mom, that made me feel so good that she was actually researching and she loved, your videos. I thought they were lame at first.
I still think they're lame.
No, they're great now, and she was just so well versed in Korea and everything by the time we got here. So I would just like to say thank you. Cool. That's what makes it pretty cool.
Thank you so much.
And are you liking it so far?
I love it.
Yes. Now they're gonna be like, let's move somewhere else. She'll be like, no.
And like before we came to Korea, we tried to do the same thing. We tried like Googling Bucheon and whatnot, and there was nothing online. I legitimately thought I'd be living on a farm. There was no information whatsoever, and like it turned out that Bucheon was a giant thriving city. Like, why is nobody making videos about this? So like we're just like, I'm glad that we could help you out and the help that we didn't have ourselves.
And I don't know if you're not allowed to, but I'd love to see videos about what it's like to be in the Army in Korea, because it's this magical cloistered community where
that's what we always do.
If anybody's seen Lost, it's like the others. It's so bizarre. bizarre every time we go to
He
States.
had a, like, he used to be on a basketball league in Wuchang, and they played on the Yongsan Air Base.
Yes.
Or no, Yongsan Army Base,
Army
yes,
base.
not Osan, yeah. And when we walked in, there's like brick houses,
Yeah.
and like Burger Kings or Taco Bells, and we're like, what is this? And there's like bus stops within the,
Yeah.
it's this like magic place. So I would love to see videos about comparisons of like, here I am on the airbase, here I am outside the airbase, outside, inside, like, you know, and the food you get, everyone else is jealous of the food you get.
Yes.
You have like Christmas time, you're like, Christmas time, you're making my stuffing, and I'm like, I ordered a chicken delivery.
We always say that like the foreigners here that are not part of the military are like our heroes because you guys are like really doing it. Whereas we have like small comforts of home and we kind of compare it to like camping. Like you guys are like really camping in tents and we're like camping RVs.
That's a great analogy.
You've got the hot water, we're boiling it up. Super diarrhea for a week, you're like, I'm fine.
That's taking it a bit too far.
Well, you've been camping and you haven't, you know, that fish was not cooked correctly.
So we love Korea, but we also love having our comforts.
Yeah.
We can always fall back on. So
Fantastic.
thank you guys.
Thank you.
Okay, I think that's a good note for us to wrap up on. So just
Lovely.
before we finish, do you mind doing the prize draw?
Oh yeah, sure.
So we've got 2 prizes. Does everybody have a raffle?
I lost mine, but I was number 13.
Oh, you were the one? Oh, that's
You're like, I was number 23.
So we'll do the runner-up. The runner-up prize first.
Okay.
And the runner-up prize is Let the Right One In. Fantastic novel.
I'll do my.
Oh, sorry, and the main prize, the big prize is sponsored by Angle Info. But we'll do the run.
Everything you need to know about living in or moving to Seoul. Okay, here we go. Simon, can you make a drum roll for me? Number 26.
26.
26. It's you.
They left.
Oh, so 2 people had to leave early. 2 people left early. So
Suckers.
there.
Simon?
Okay. Hurry, please.
Number 5.
That was totally my number.
Not quite to the death. Okay.
Ready?
The next
Bob,
one.
do the next one.
Main prize. Lovely.
You gotta like spit out white. You gotta be like, nah, nah, nah. You gotta be like,
Oh, really? Oh, God.
Oh, you won!
Okay. Just imagine it.
I'm a 19.
Oh, sorry.
Okay.
No.
Number. Oh, no, I don't like that. Number 31. 31. Bingo! Congratulations. Da-da-da-da-da. Congratulations.
So is it okay if I'm sure once we want to get
Yeah, sure.
Okay, well, so let's give Simon and Martina a big round of applause.